and the amazing Bellet team in particular. Thank you very much for the time. Thank you very much for the commitment. Thank you very much for the interest. Thank you very much for the enthusiasm. Thank you very much for the engagement and involvement in Belep. From day one, 1st July, you've demonstrated great capacity and ability to roll out this amazing program that we have for our people. The idea of having it justified is already done. I would like to specifically thank our team leader, Frederick, who has overwhelmingly devoted time, energy, brain work, and everything you can imagine to ensure that Belep is on the right footing. The entire team of coordinators at the district level, I won't go into naming, but the team, the Belep coordinating team and Belep management team, if I'm to call it that way, you're doing good. You make me proud. Belep has gained track in terms of visibility and in terms of interest, in terms of engagement, to the extent that yesterday I was so pleased. I was attending the charter ceremony of the Rotary Club of Bulange. This is the club that is a Uganda club, which is going to do everything in Uganda. It was launched, it was chartered and witnessed by Katikiro. He was the guest of honor. But when they came out to show what they are going to do, it was nothing but Belep entirely. They are devoting all their efforts on education in terms of books, in terms of access, in terms of teachers. So I really saw that they appreciated the concept of Belep, and they are going to run away with it. And in case they are in any need, we should be available to support them, because the idea is not to restrict it to our district alone. If there are other Rotary clubs that are taking the same and would like to be supported technically, we should be available to do so. So mine are mainly words of encouragement, words of motivation, words of appreciation, words of recognition of the great work you are doing, words of acknowledgement of your really extremely amazing performance, because we are answering Jennifer Jones' call to imagine Rotary. And we are imagining a district and a country where reading and writing and is a way of life, just like we put it for the D.E.A.R Day. So the D.E.A.R Day was an entry point into the full implementation of Belep. So it was not a one-off. We are in this for the long haul, and we should now see full activity taking full effect in terms of Belep. For that matter, we are now going to look at the way forward. We started well. That was good. But was it good enough? No, it wasn't. We need to take it further, and we need to sustain the goodness with which we started. We need to create much more impact through regular engagements, through regular interactions, and through regular activity. The rest of the details are already worked out in the program for the day or for this particular interaction. But allow me to say, we've talked about a press release, and I think our plans are underway so that we share a well-coordinated kind of information regarding what we did on day one and what we've done so far and what we intend to do going forward. So that is being done, and I think soon we shall have it. We are creating awareness through the different media interactions. I particularly have been invited on a number of radio and TV stations where I've shared. I'm not leaving you to do it alone. When and where I'm needed, I'm always available. Even in terms of your clubs, if I have time and you are requesting, don't feel shy. I can always make time because doing it is the right thing to do. And each and everyone should play their part if we are to be as impactful as we want to be. So in a nutshell, let me thank you once again, the entire team, right from the Belep district team to the zonal coordination teams and to the club Belep officers working with presidents. You'll appreciate that in Rotary, everything happens at the club level. So Belep is no exception. It's not going to happen at the district. It's not going to happen in the area. It is only and will only happen at the club level. Your engagement, your partners, your collaborators are what can make Belep turn into a reality. So it is a big dream which we are translating into a reality using your clubs, using your officers, using your members. I'll be available as a cheerleader to do my bit of cheering you as you manage and as you create impact in your communities that you serve. Once again, thank you. Thank you for making it early in the morning. Saturday morning can be private time, but devoting it to Belep is a clear demonstration of your goodwill and interest in the project. Personally, I was at Kampala Metropolitan yesterday till late, but I'm up and running, and as I speak, I'm on the road, but we'll still be participating fully in this meeting. So thank you, and back to you, Mr. Moderator and our convener. I wish you an eventful, interesting, exciting, and productive engagement this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the amazing Governor. And it is always an honor and privilege and joy to have you with us. And indeed, like you've rightly said, your passion for Belep is unprecedented. Thank you very much for that. Colleagues, with no much further ado, I would like to first and foremost join in yet again to welcome you, those that have just plugged in. Thank you very much for making time for being with us. I want to mention that the team here is the team that actually moves and shakes the entire district. So we want to say thank you very much for all your sacrifices, not only to Belep. I know that there are other dockets that we are plugging into. So thank you very much. So friends, we started off with a big bang with the D.E.A.R Day on the 1st July, the very first day of the month. And I'm glad to say that as far as and since then, we have never stopped. Every single day, there is an activity that is happening in the space of Belep. Even today, as we speak, there is going to be an event that is going to happen by the Rotary Club of Begari and Ambole about Belep. So we want to say thank you very much for buying into Belep. But we would like to give some guidance. As you, over time, we have been sharing the rationale, the basis, the background, the justification of why we are undertaking this very critical intervention. And we have a very well thought through plan, which we have shared with you along the way. So we want to start moving into the plan to see to it that we start giving a solution to the underlying challenges. So after the D.E.A.R Day, colleagues, you'll agree with me that when we say we would like to enhance literacy by making reading a way of life, we cannot make reading a way of life by going to schools once on a D.E.A.R Day and going back and to sit. It cannot happen. So it calls for something to be a way of life. It has to be done over and over again until it becomes part and parcel of your lifestyle, until it becomes part of you. So you know that we have a very, very challenging, not very good reading culture. So the goal is, and the idea here is that we get to a place where without our presence, schools take a moment, at least an hour, every single week to do nothing but to read, even without our presence as Rotarians. But for us to get to that level, right now at inception, we need to walk a journey with the schools. For those of us that went to school when we are walking, our parents started by walking us to the school every single day, for a week, for a month, and then they phased out and we could walk by ourselves. So the same journey I would like us to embark on. I request and appeal to each and every single one of us that let's walk with these schools. Let's work with these communities that we chose to partner with, or we shall choose, because I know we'll continue to choose this. So the idea is that we request that now, D.E.A.R Day was the entry point. You've now entered, and I'm sure that you've gotten goodwill, you've gotten a buy-in from these schools. So we request that you now start to engage with the schools intensely. And in your first engagement with the schools, sorry, colleagues, I'm just saying that now we need to go in. And I know when you went to those schools, there are so many things you saw, so many things you saw. And you actually, some of you said, hey, I wish we knew that this was the situation before coming. No, that was to get you in. Now you know what the situation is there. So we want you to conduct a comprehensive needs assessment. It is a norm in Rotary that before we undertake or you execute anything, we do a needs assessment. We have done our research. We've done our needs assessment before knowing what exactly are we supposed to do. We've done our research as the BELEP team. We want you now to take it to a club level, because why do we say we do a research? We know that the interventions that you're going to undertake in the different schools is not the same. What you do in Kampala Parents is different from what you do from Chira Primary. What you do in Chira Primary is different from what you do in Tinda Primary. So that is why we want you to go to these schools with a comprehensive needs assessment. And then from that needs assessment, you'll be able to know that, hey, I think the best place to start is here. And we have an entire district team to sit with you and guide you where you need guidance. So reach out. Once you've done it, we'll give you a tool. This tool is going to be shared with you as early as next week. It is a simple tool to guide you, really find out facts, critical facts that inform BELEP activities about the particular schools that you'll be working with. And then after that, we request that you'll agree with the school managements, with the school the team, that, you know, what is the appropriate way to have, at least for starters, a bi-weekly or even weekly. But we could start at a monthly as a bare minimum, to have D.E.A.R Day, where children in that particular school drop everything and focus on nothing but reading. Reading for pleasure, reading for learning, and whatever they choose to read. So yeah, because the school knows better their calendars, they know better their activities, they know better what is possible, what time, and what is not possible, what time. So that way, you're able to fit perfectly into their plan. You're not going to them that on this day want to come and do this. So that means that different clubs will be engaging in D.E.A.R Day at different occasions, and still that's okay because of the different schedules and calendars in all the partnering schools. So for colleagues, this is very, very, very critical. And after that, this will help you to generate a D.E.A.R Day schedule. D.E.A.R day schedules for your entire school and for your club. So as a club, you will know that on this particular day of the week, on this particular day of the month, on this particular day every after 2 weeks, there's going to be reading that is going to be happening in this school. And our appeal to you is, you may not be able to go in the entire club or even half of the club, but at least send 1 or 2 representatives or 3 or 5 or many, at least have representation in these days that you will have, because they'll be on your calendar as a club as well. So you'll be able to find a team of Rotarians from your club that will go and work with these schools to ensure that reading is really, really made a way of life. Like I said, a standard questionnaire, a standard form, really to help you assess the situations in these schools will be shared with you, so you do not have to worry. Now, the other question is, when do we hope you can be able to do this? Our humble appeal is that within the next 2 weeks from today, you should have been able to do a needs assessment. That date can change to 30th, because we know you need time to plan as a clubs. So within 2 weeks from today, you need to have done the needs assessment. You need to have visited and engaged with these learners, with the teachers and everybody, so that you're able to know what exactly is going to happen. Now, colleagues, you realize from our inception that the interventions we are going to undertake cut around 4 categories of people. Number 1, parents. Why parents? We are dealing with infants whose decisions are taken by their parents on their behalf. So it is very important that we align with parents. We are dealing with teachers. Why teachers? Yes, teachers are the people imparting knowledge in the lives of these schools, the respective schools. So it is very important that we deal with the teachers as well. You realize that we are dealing with the learners. Why? Because they are our target, population. And 4, we are dealing with communities around these schools and everything else in the, where we work with. So if we are working with these 4 critical groups, we've got to do everything right with these groups. Number 1, it is very important for us to assess the teachers that are imparting knowledge in the lives of these schools. And why are we doing this? I don't have to take time to discuss this. I know that down there, we have somebody who will be really discussing teacher assessments in detail. Dr. David Kabugo from Makerere University. Very great resource we have on the BELEP team, and we appreciate you, Dr. David, for your kind sacrifice, for your kind commitment and all this. Now, friends, it is very important that we understand the level at which our teachers are. So therefore, there's going to be a teacher's assessment. We are going to guide you on how to do this assessment. There's going to be a tool. So I don't want to go details into this because I know we're going to discuss it shortly. But also we want to understand at what stage our learners are. It is important for us to know where are our learners at, what gaps do they have, and that one informs us from where to start. Yes, we have taken readers, for example, the D.E.A.R, and that was a very good gesture. But can our readers read? Can our learners read? Okay, where is the challenge and how can we address it? Details of this will be given to you, but the key point is that we will be able to share with you tools to assess teachers, and the tools for assessing teachers are actually administered on the teachers themselves. And then we'll have tools to assess learners. Now, the ideal would be that the teachers in these schools would be would be the ones to assess the learners, but we are saying no. We need independent assessors. So we'll guide you on how to do this and how to get the assessors. We have a team of assessors at BELEP that are ready, available, willing, committed to work with you. So all we need to do is work out a model on how, because you'll be going to these schools anyway. So you'll just have to tag along the assessors so they help you to go and assess the learners. And then there's a particular category of learners that we are focusing on. And I don't want to really preempt the next discussion, but we'll come to this. And then lastly, we are request that as you visit these schools within the 2 weeks, agree on a date when you will go there to do the assessment of the teachers and assessment of the learners. And we request that this should happen during the first week of August. Why the first week of August? Because in August is when the teachers will get holidays, and we want in the first quarter, we want to give them, because we are going to be doing teacher empowerment and retooling on a quarterly basis. because we want to reach out to these teachers during the holidays. Then they can fully commit, and they can fully focus. So, and then we'll be guiding you on how these trainings will happen. Where will they happen? And how often can they go on? So, but how often? Quarterly. How will they happen? In schools. So when will they happen? During holidays. So because they were targeting the holiday, it is very, very, very important that we agree with the schools on the assessment date during the first week of August. So this is how the roadmap for now looks like, at least for the first quarter. This is how the roadmap looks like. And we are available. Do not really get challenged. Reach out. We are very, very available and ready to give the necessary guidance, to give the necessary support to the entire Rotary fraternity, so that we are able to inform and create the rightful intervention. When you're sick, you go to a doctor, the first thing they will do is a diagnosis. So the same thing we want to do with our interventions. We want to do the diagnosis so that we give relevant intervention to our schools. So this is really how it looks like. And as we delve into the next session, I would like us to listen to what is it with the teacher's assessment? What tool are we going to use? What are we looking at? And to guide us through this exercise is Dr. David Kabugo. I'll request that you use 7 minutes, and we'll take questions for each session. I will not wait for questions at the end because we might lose out on urgent matters. So we'll take questions, not many, but a few. And the mode we'll take is, if you're able to raise your hand, that is always preferred. If it is not able, I will try to look up in the chat section to pick your questions. So with no much further ado, it is my privilege to invite you, Dr. David Kabugo, to kindly guide us on why teachers' assessment, how are we going to do it, and what are we looking for. Over to you, Dr. David. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. I would ask that Fred, you enable me to share my PowerPoint, so I speak to that in a while.
I've done right that, so you can go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so thank you, Fred, and colleagues. I'm joining in a little late, and accept my apologies. I want to speak to how we thinking we can assess the teacher's knowledge of early grade reading. Because, colleagues, what we are talking about is enhancing children's literacy, but in this case, we know that literacy is a very big animal, including when we generally speak of literacy, we are talking about reading, writing, speaking, and listening at the basic level again. But the core aspect of literacy that we want to enhance is reading. And the component of teacher development is, of course, early grade reading instruction. How much, how competent are our teachers in supporting our children to read? So that is what we are speaking, we are talking about. And so before we design any capacity building program for the teachers, we need to understand the gaps in the teachers' knowledge of early grade reading instruction. So when I speak about early grade reading instruction, this is how I mean. So in the next 5 minutes, I'll be speaking to early grade reading, and then early grade reading instruction, and then assessing teachers' knowledge of early grade reading instruction, and then the tentative tool that we are developing, that we are going to utilize to assess teachers' competencies in early grade reading instruction. And so what, before I speak to how we are going to measure teachers' knowledge of early grade reading instruction, we need to have a shared understanding of what early grade reading means. And so early grade reading, according to me, is children learning the relationships between these symbols. Yes, we present these symbols to children, and the relationship between these symbols, the relationship between A and B, the relationship between B, S, and C to form words. So when children learn the relationship between these letters or symbols of a given language, so as to understand their meanings, that's how we mean by early grade reading. And what we know about early grade reading instruction then is how do you support these children to learn the relationship between how do you support our children to learn the relationship between these symbols as they form words? So the instruction here means the support that you give to the children to make meaning out of the relationship, the relationships in the formation of words and all the symbols, and how we know about the kind of support we give that the children is usually phonemic awareness and phonetics. And I'll speak to this with the assumption that we are all not teachers, but we got interest in early grade reading. So by phonics, for instance, you are supporting children to attach sounds to those letters. How does a child begin to attach a sound to one or all of these letters? So you attach sounds to letters. You are then supporting children to manipulate different sounds. You are supporting children to acquire new words, which we call vocabulary. Then you are supporting children to accurately sound these different words at a reasonable speed, which we are calling fluency. Then you are supporting children to attach meanings to the different letters and symbols and the different words, which we call comprehension, but also engaging them in that cyclic process of, encouraging them to do one up to the 67th step. So regular practice, which means regular practice of manipulating sounds, regular practice of attaching sounds to letters and words, regular practice of acquiring new words, vocabulary, regular practice of accurately sounding letters at reasonable speed, regular practice of attaching meanings to the words they encounter. So this all put together is what I summarize as early grade reading instruction or early grade reading support. So those are the very, specific technical aspects of how as teachers we support children to engage in reading activities. But now the question is, how then do we assess the teacher's knowledge of doing all these things? The question is, are our teachers competent in supporting our children to engage in these reading activity, early grade reading activities? So, but I want you to pay a little more attention here, because Fred is giving me only just 2 minutes to speak to a module that I have taught over the last, I often teach for a semester. He wants me to summarize in 1 or 2 minutes. So,
Dr. David, I will add you 3 minutes.
Yeah, okay, thank you so much. So how then, the question is, how are we as D.E.A.R going to measure teachers' knowledge of supporting children to read effectively? And the question is, how do we then measure teachers' knowledge? But also, before we ask how do we measure teachers' knowledge, we are asking ourselves, what kind of knowledge should teachers have? And then I have used this framework to summarize the kind of knowledge that teachers should have to be able to support our children to effectively read. So the one aspect of knowledge is what we call content knowledge. We all know a teacher who does not know the subject matter. By content knowledge, we mean, does this teacher know what to teach, what exactly to teach, the subject matter? We have interacted with good teachers, and we know a teacher who is not, who does not even know what to teach. And by what to teach, these are the things that I've been speaking about. I mean, does the teacher, him or herself, know phonics? Does the teacher know phonemic awareness? Does the teacher understand the concept of fluency? Does the teacher understand the concept of reading comprehension? I mean, is the teacher aware of, any English, local language, new words? So we are going to assess the teacher's knowledge of the subject matter. And that is what we call content. But you know that good teachers are not those who only know that subject matter. Good teachers are those who know how to teach, the subject, how to deliver the subject matter. I should be speaking sense to someone. Good teachers are not those who are going to pour content to children. Good teachers are those who know how to deliver the content, and the how is what we call the pedagogy. The pedagogy here means what methods are you utilizing? What techniques are you using to teach phonics? What strategies are you using to support children to acquire vocabulary? What strategies are what methods are you using to improve children's fluency? So by the how here is the pedagogy. So we are not only going to assess teachers' knowledge of the content, what we are going to assess teachers' knowledge of the how, the pedagogy. So I hope that also speaks sense to you. But you see, we are living in the 21st century where technology is also a cross-cutting issue. I mean, we are here using the Zoom now. We are going to assess to what extent the teacher can ably use a range of technologies, a range of toys, a range of digital tools. I mean, they may not even be the traditional technology the emerging technologies we know, but if they are using a chat, if they are using a blackboard, if they are using any teaching and learning tools are what we are referring to as technology. So are you using a phone? Are you using a TV screen? Are you using, name all these technologies that are in the hands of a teacher. So to what extent is this teacher ardent, fluent in utilizing technology to enhance children's acquisition of phonemic awareness, of phonics, of vocabulary, of fluency, of reading comprehension? So the core areas of knowledge that we want to assess this teacher as being competent at are content knowledge, pedagogy knowledge, and technology knowledge. But I will let us speak to the intersection, because we are not going to assess these as isolated nodes. The rather the intersection of pedagogy and content, what we are referring to as pedagogical content knowledge, the intersection between content and technology, what we are referring to as technology content knowledge, and the intersection between technology and pedagogy, what we are calling technological pedagogical content knowledge. The most fluent teacher in early grade reading instruction is one we shall see at the center, at the intersection, the core here. So if we can see that most fluent teacher in early grade reading instruction is someone who will be sitting at the center. I'll speak to that. If I would speak to that much more if I had a lot of time. But I know that the assessors we are going to utilize, to use to assess teachers' early grade reading competency, we shall speak to them much more. So then how, the question is how then, what tool do we use? We can use a range of tools depending on, picking on the concepts that I have uncovered in the previous slides, but one of them could be a questionnaire that is in form of, these scales, the Likert scale, and so looking at the different dimensions, we are going to have a questionnaire. In our questionnaire, a section that is testing the teacher's pedagogical knowledge, a section that is testing the teacher's content knowledge, a section that is testing the teacher's technological knowledge, but also the most important aspects are these intersections, sections that are assessing these intersections. So I'll speak to this very quickly. So we'd ask a teacher, for instance, to self-rate, and will guide our assessors on how to do this. So a teacher will self-assess, and for instance, in terms of content knowledge in early grade reading instruction, I have sufficient knowledge about phonics in English and local language. So they will say maybe strongly disagree, agree, and decided agree, or strongly agree. These are things we all know. I have sufficient knowledge about phonemic awareness in English and my local language, and they can self-assess. I have sufficient knowledge about vocabulary in English and local language. I have sufficient knowledge about fluency in English and my local language. You could see that these questions are all about the content knowledge of early grade reading. And then this is a section on pedagogical knowledge in early grade reading. I have already spoken to you about pedagogy. Pedagogy is the how. So we ask this teacher to self-rate. I know how to assess children's performance in phonics. Pedagogy is also about the teacher's ability to assess children's learning. So, but what is this child learning? The child is learning phonics, phonemic awareness, vocabulary, fluency, comprehension. So we need to understand, does this teacher know how to assess children's performance in all these aspects of reading? Can this teacher adapt his teaching based upon what children already know? Because as teachers, we know that we want to support children to transit from known to unknown. So can this teacher be able to build from the child is known to unknown zones of proximal development? So those are the aspects we want to know. I can adapt my teaching to different children's learning styles. We know some of our our children have different learning styles. There are those who want to touch, those who want to hear, those who want to we have a range of learning styles. We have kinesthetic children, we have auditory children, we have tactile children. So does this teacher, is this teacher aware of the children's learning styles, and then how he builds on these learning styles to enhance children's learning? These are things that we need to assess and understand where teachers are at. So I can assess children's learning of phonics. I can use a wide range of methods, and this is very important. As early childhood development practitioners, we know the predominant, developmental appropriate methods for children are play-based learning methods, for instance. So we need to understand, does this teacher know how to use the play-based learning methods, the strategies, the approaches, the techniques, while teaching these different elements of early grade reading? I am familiar with the common misconceptions and misunderstandings that children have about phonemics, for phonics and etc. I know the different misconceptions that parents have about these different approaches to reading improvement. So we need, these are the aspects that we are going to assess the teachers about or on. And as you could see, that the entire framework of testing teachers' knowledge is a huge one. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 10 different elements of knowledge that we want to assess teachers, so that we can design an appropriate program that supports, that builds the capacity of these teachers. Once we have gotten this baseline information, then we can design an appropriate training intervention for the teachers. So that's what I can say in the 5 minutes, Fred. So unless the team has questions for me to respond to, otherwise the instrument is a longer one. Thank you very much, Fred.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. David. And indeed, the goal today was really not for us to delve deeper into the questionnaire. As you very well know, that this is going to be designed into an assessment tool. Now, on the 30th of this month, we'll call all the colleagues here and we'll be able to take you through the details of the tool. So today it was really to do one thing, to let you know that it is very important, very, very important to do an assessment of the teachers. And Dr. David, thank you. You've done more than that. I'm not sure there is a question to this, but if there is 1 or 2 questions, I will take them, 1 or 2. And I see, I will take the first 3 hands. So far, see 2 and 3, I will leave it at that. And I will start with you. I will end with you, DG, leaders eat last. So Dr. David Semakula, please, your question in 30 seconds for Dr. David's response. I'll take the 4 questions and Dr. David, you respond. 30 seconds, please.
You said David Semakula. Hello?
Yes, David, go right ahead.
Yes, you added the word doctor, so I thought there was another David. My question is the challenge of involving the teachers in the assessment. Now, what do I mean? The Rotary is going in to support the reading culture so that it becomes a norm that somebody must be reading. But when you start assessing a teacher, you need to see the benefit. In most cases, they allow assessment by the employers or those people who give them money. But how do we involve them? Because you are looking at his competence. People don't want to surrender their competence to anybody unless it's going either to promote them or to pay them. How is Rotary going to handle this area? And the other issue is that, are we going to converge them into a center so that we have several teachers to be assessed and then eventually empowered? I think I will stop at that.
Thank you very much. Rotarian Francis Wanji, 30 seconds, please. 30 seconds strictly. Unmute, shoot your question. 30 seconds.
Thank you very much, Rotarian Frederick, and thank you very much, the Belep district team. As a teacher, I really understand why it is important to do the assessment. Actually, as I was planning for my club particularly, we are also looking for a component of teacher training on reading and everything else, so that we support the learners and also support the teacher who is supposed to empower them further. My question though is it possible at this level to know, because most of the clubs are in planning phase and we are budgeting and all that, is it possible to know whether if there is a need for training of teachers after this assessment, is that budget going to be funded by the club? And then if yes, can we have indicative figures so that as we are looking for funds, we are able to tell that we are assigning this amount to training teachers, maybe in 1 or 2 schools? That's my question. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Moses Walakira, 30 seconds, please.
Yes, yeah, thank you so much. Probably 2 things I'm going to raise. One is we've dealt with the knowledge of the teachers. I don't know whether the tool will have a component of the actual practice. What are they doing, especially in the house? And then number 2, of course, we need to be very tactical when it comes to dealing with the resistance, but also ensuring the truthfulness, because this is going to be a self-administered questionnaire. How are we going to ensure that the teacher is actually doing the right assessment? I think that component should also be included, especially when it comes to the assessors. How shall we ensure that the teachers are going to be truthful and give us the right content? Over.
Thank you very much. Pros, 20 seconds, please.
Good morning, and thank you so much for the presentation. Mine is more or less related to David. I think there is a lot of change management that needs to be done to manage these teachers. They may feel they are competent, but what happens if the assessment comes out otherwise? So some sensitivity there. Thank you.
Awesome. And lastly, but not the least, I'm tempted to, okay, Caroline, I will take your question, just 10 seconds. And after Caroline, DG comes straight in and we close.
Oh, good morning, everybody. Thank you for the presentation. I have a few comments, and it's just for thinking through. So I totally agree with coming in to support teachers so that they're equipped to share knowledge and equip our learners. My question is, at what point do we draw the line between our responsibility and government? Because are we not stepping our boundaries in terms of assessing staff and teachers and determining their competence, number one? Number two, I like the question about change and resistance, because we are assessing them, and are they going to tell us the truth about their own competence because they feel they're competent? And then the third one is sustainability. We will go in and train these teachers. They will then go on and give skills to the children, and then they will leave. So how do we ensure sustainability in terms of the skills we're giving these teachers so that they can equip learners with the ability for reading, writing, comprehension, etc.? So those are my 3 points. Thank you.
Lastly, DG, you can come in.
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe a bit of response to, but Dr. Kabugo definitely is best placed to respond. But and I want to thank Dr. Kabugo for such an amazing presentation that was educative and informative to even all of us. Before I also want to say, making reading as a way of life should not only be championed in schools. As Rotary, we need to champion it even in our own clubs, because you find that the reading culture is affecting our level of performance as Rotarians. A mail is sent and someone just opens but doesn't read. WhatsApp is sent and someone just opens but they don't read the details. Then you are in the meeting and you are referring to a mail you sent, and everyone is feigning ignorance about it, and that is a week after. So I think we need also to design some activity, some engagement at club level where maybe we can have a reading fellowship once in a month. Something along those lines should be thought out also, because you can't give what you don't have. If we are not reading, we can't make our children read. We can't create an environment of reading. So that is food for thought, Mr. Team Leader of BELEP, because we also need something around enhancement around us as Rotarians. But my comment on the Dr. Caroline's issue, sustainability, I think we need to be ready to engage this enhancement as a long-term engagement. We should be psychologically prepared to be in it for the long haul. So even clubs need to know that this is work in progress. It is continuous. We need to continue building capacity to enhance. So as we enhance the reading culture, we also need to enhance our own capacity as clubs progressively over time, so that we are able to make some good impact. And that is the reason that we framed it as a program, not just a mere project, a one-off. So it is indeed not an event, it is a process. And we need to be patient, we need to be consistent, we need to be ready to do small things, but doing them in a big way. But my comment or question to Dr. Kabugo, how do we then use this entire process to inform and build capacity for our learners to learn reading in their local languages? I just want that element of the local languages, because it is critical. We begin thinking in our languages, then we act and translate whatever we've thought about in English. So how do we look at our languages? We have Luganda, we have Rutoga, Rutoro, in order to customize this program to also be sensitive and mindful of the local needs linguistically. How do we get that working out so that it is not just English alone? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the lovely questions. Dr. Kabugo, I will save you only one question, the last question from the DG. Please refer that to the next presenter who's going to be dealing with the issues of our learners. Dr. Caroline Kavuma, prepare for that. But Dr. David, you have strictly 3 minutes to respond, actually 2 minutes, to respond to those many questions. Over to you, Dr. David.
Thank you very much, Fred and DJ Mike and the colleagues who've raised a number of questions. What I'm picking out from us, our concerns and our fears about teachers not giving valid information. We already know, and I'll assume we have done research, and before you roll out a research instrument, you have done a pre-testing and you have validated an instrument. But then let me respond as follows. We are not going to test the teachers. Everyone fears a test. We are not going to present this as a test. No. This is going to be a learning needs assessment. We are going to ask a teacher, for instance, which one of the following areas of early grade reading instruction would you want training on? Do you feel inadequate on? Because we are going to tell them the purpose of this questionnaire, the purpose of this instrument is to identify your training needs so that we can develop an appropriate training or capacity building intervention for you. It is not a test. So then when you tell a teacher that the idea is to support you improve your ways of teaching reading to our children, they will give you as much information, actually beyond even what you're asking in the questionnaire. So we are not giving tests to us. We are not testing teachers' knowledge of early grade reading instruction. We are identifying areas of improvement. We are identifying areas to inform the design of appropriate CPD, the design of appropriate training interventions for them. So I think that allays our fears, but also we are not going to use a question only that a self-administered questionnaire. The idea is to even go to the classrooms and see what the teachers are doing. So we'll develop maybe an observation checklist. What are the teachers? What are those resources that are at the disposal of the teachers, so we can also build on that? So the rest, I mean, I think every other questions we are about the teacher, I mean, those fears, and there should not be any fears around that, because colleagues, if we don't know where teachers are at, our efforts of going directly to the children are going to be futile. We don't know what the teachers know and don't know, so that we need to understand, why is this child critically reading deficient? And it starts with a teacher. So if we don't know where the teacher is at, our efforts will be futile. It's very urgent that we know where teachers are and we design appropriate capacity building for them. It is worse. I'll tell you, most of our teachers, research has shown most of our teachers are certificate holders in ECD centers. You can see that where the deficit is between a certificate and a degree as required by National Teacher Policy. The training is urgent. The need to build their capacity is urgent, but we need to know exactly where they are at. We are not going to administer tests for them. We are identifying their training needs. That's why we are positioning this as a learning needs assessment tool, not a testing tool. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. David. Friends, as you see on our calendar, on the 30th of this very month, we are going to have another session where we will do nothing but discuss with you this tool, which we are going to pre-test. As you have seen, the pre-testing will happen in the last week of July. And after the pre-test, we shall come to you. And now we are giving you the right tool and explaining to you how to use based on experience of how it has worked during the pre-test. So don't you worry. I know you have many questions around this, but this was just to let you in on what lies ahead. With no much further ado, I want to welcome Dr. Caroline Kavuma. She's not well, but because of the heart and of the passion she has for BELEP, she had to come and let us in and inform us on what exactly are we going to do with assessment of our learners. Dr. Caroline Kavuma, you are very welcome, and I will give you 5 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair BELP, this opportunity, and members of the district committee. I greet you and thank you for your time. For learner assessment, we would like to inform ourselves of the state of learners. It's sort of like a benchmark we're putting in place against which we shall judge our impact. How much have we been able to do? What have we achieved? And so for learners, the assessment tool will be administered by trained assessors. We shall have to train our majorly teachers, probably who are in Rotary, to us, but taking care of the need to work with government. We'll try to see if we can work with UNEB, that is responsible for this assessment, and who are very experts in assessing if they so allow, because UNEB has special activities, usually they are not free. But we'll try to say, can look at our tools and give us someone to come and train our assessors, and then they go to the field. And if possible, we can work with basic education and also the teacher education department in owning up and so for sustainability. Rotary clubs will be guided on how to acquire and facilitate assessors. So of course, this activity as it requires a bit of money. We'll do it in spirit of Rotary, but there is money in printing the tools, there's money in transportation, and also in people, feed people who will be on tea, maybe for a food. An assessment tool and the training on application will be ready by the 3rd of July. You're already developing the tool, and this tool is going to base itself on 5 areas. In reading, we assess the children's alphabetic principle, the ability to understand sounds behind letters that are written in different languages. Then phonemic awareness, that words are built up of different sound segments. They will have to be, we shall have to ask them, and here sometimes we ask them to read the word, to be able to tell us that word, how many segments has. We have to know whether the children are aware that behind all words, they are built on sound segments. And then we have also to do another component of vocabulary, which we normally use real objects or pictures to see whether the children can name the things in the locality. These will differ from area to area because we usually ask things that you know in a particular setting. So you will find that sometimes the items will differ in Karamoja from those that are asked in the central region and those that are in Western and Eastern Uganda, because vocabulary is very important in helping the children to read. In fact, for your information, children have to read a particular language where they have at least 500 words known to them. They're very familiar with that vocabulary, and then they're able to continue reading that language. Without vocabulary, we can't expect children to read. Then fluency, we assessed also, which have some questions on fluency. That is reading ability, to the speed and the accuracy of bringing out meaning. When someone is reading, do you get some say the way they put sounds? You know, there are tonal languages, like in northern Uganda. There are somewhere where your voice has to go. That's a different meaning. And the same word is written with a tonic. And when it is down, the meaning also changes. But in English, we have words which we say differently, spelled the same, but you utter them differently and they change the meaning. We'll look at comprehension also, how much children are able and what they wrote. It will be the areas for children. It won't be long, it will be simple. The teachers and learners assessment tools will be in the last week of July. We shall try to pilot these tools to see whether they will see the data that is intended. They are intended to bring. And if they don't, they'll be administered in the first. We have a little time. 1 year reading intervention is quite a small one. Impact. Secretary has also to think out this. It's quite hard to see what to do in terms of learn and see if there are small steps. Hello?
Yes, Dr. Caroline, your network is a bit faint, but go ahead and in the next 2 minutes, I hope you'll be done. Dr. Caroline, please go ahead. I think we seem to have lost Dr. Caroline because of poor connection, and the connection is really challenging this morning. We respect that. But I believe that you could have gotten the gist of this whole teacher assessment. The purpose really is to understand that at what level are our learners, and that will help us to, come up with relevant interventions to enhance learning. But more than that is also to know that the assessment of the learners will not going to be administered by the teachers teaching them, but by assessors that will be trained and empowered to do so. So you need to ensure that you have assessors attached to your club. Reach out to us and we'll see to it that we work with you to get assessors. And we are going to use Rotarians who are teachers. We have a database, and if you've not signed up, please shout on you can even send us notification on our page. We can bring you on to the database. We want to use Rotarians who are teachers. They will empower them to be assessors and help us to go and assess our learners. Again, for fear of non-objectivity from the teachers that teach them. Again, key to note is the pilot. We'll have to pilot the tool that we'll be using the first week of July, and on the 30th of July, the tool that we'll be sharing with you and disseminating to you to go and administer will be tested and will have been fine-tuned in view of the pilot results. So I think this is pretty much the summary, and the point and the goal here is, the most important goal is to see to it that we do these assessments again by the first week of August in target of designing relevant interventions and in the right time. I think that is really pretty much in summary of Caroline's submission. I don't know whether, Caroline, you're now back with the proper network, so I could give you time to really close in your submission, if you're still available. Okay. It seems Caroline really dropped off because of the network challenges, but at least you get the point and the whole, the main goal of this whole thing. I right now want to invite none other than Rotarian Flavia. Rotarian Flavia is the team leader of reading, of writing, of reading and writing competitions, and all this together with the Rotarian Sandra Namarome. They are really leading us in this area. We said BELEP is like a buffet. So let us complete the buffet. We're not doing well on time, but I'm sure that we will be able to catch up. So Rotarian Flavia, you have strictly 5 minutes to guide us through what is in store regarding the libraries and all this. Over to you, Flavia.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much, Dr. Caroline and Dr. David. Thank you very much for the presentation so far. I'm sure we are all now getting around it. So my task is easy. We're talking about community libraries, and we are talking about structures that are going to help us to sustain the reading in the communities. But we're also talking about community libraries from the angle of some schools are actually disadvantaged and they actually don't have these libraries. So what we have been doing with the community libraries is to establish whether they have that muscle to actually serve. And we're talking about an average of 10 schools in their radius. Schools that can come in and actually borrow books, borrow readers, and able to take them into their school environment and then bring them back and change and take more books. And so we're looking at a community library now as a very resourceful center that we are going to be supporting ourselves to develop this reading culture. So some of the factors that come to play here have been, do we have competent librarians in these libraries, or we just have volunteers? Do we have suitable material for children in schools? Because remember, they are community libraries, so they are serving everyone in the community. And yes, our goal is to build a reading culture all through, but we're also saying that we want them to be positioned to be relevant to these schools. So some of the tasks that we are going out to do is saying, we have over 139 community libraries spread all over this country. And we are saying, can we have these libraries positioned in such a way that they are able to serve the schools, but are we also saying that they have the right material? How do we source the right materials to them? We're also talking about helping the schools to actually come up and tell us that, are these libraries relevant for us? Are they serving our needs? Or can they also communicate to us and tell us what is it that is missing in these libraries that we should go ahead to have implemented and put in? So we are also looking at training the librarians. We have already assessed the trainers who are actually going to make them competent so that they're able to, first of all, stock up. Secondly, to actually inquire of the school they have and what they don't have, so they're able to stock up. Then also to be able to catalog and issue. Those are very important aspects, because a frustrated reader is one who doesn't get what they need in the library. They will surely not turn up again. Then secondly, we are also saying, can we liaise with partners like Book Trust? Can we liaise with our distributors of books like Caranzo to actually equip these libraries with appropriate material? Appropriate material means that we are also going to be grading our readers and knowing that, okay, we have so many readers and they are categorized in this group. And that will give us a good sense of what Dr. Caroline has just spoken about. We are assessing the readers so that we are able to grade them, but also to get appropriate reading support materials. And this is what we're also going to be doing. We partner with Book Trust, we partner with National Library of Uganda to be able to get the right materials into these community libraries. Number three, we are also saying, can our Rotary clubs spread all over the country be able to at least support and work with one community library or two community libraries, so that we are able to follow their relevance? Are they really the source that we need at this season? And how can we make them the good source that we need? So we need supervision, and that we are believing we can get from our Rotary clubs to be able to say, okay, there's this Rotary, there's this community library called Namdi Sepia. It is in Muguruka in Kamuli. Can we be able to link it with the Rotary Club of Ginger or Source of the Nile and say Source of the Nile is going to visit this library, first of all, to take stock, secondly, to see how traffic has been driven into this place, how to improve traffic, to see how many schools are actually being seasoned by this community library. And of course, at the end of the day, we are encouraging that when our readers have actually made good use of this resource, are they able to become competent writers? And we shall long journey is that we are able to develop local writers, local publishers. We have local content. We have our heritage that we have an intellectual property over that we can boast of and actually even make revenue out of it. So it's a long journey, like Dr. Carol has said, and we are surely going to partner with this very long journey. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that is really clear cut. The goal is really we are in sync. We are talking to the Uganda Community Libraries Association of Uganda, which has over 139 libraries across the country. And the goal is really, some of these libraries are non-functional, some of them have gaps and all this. So the goal is to link all these libraries to Rotary clubs. And then the start point is for us to do an assessment, and we'll be guiding you all this way. And this assessment informs us of the phased interventions that will be undertaken in these community libraries, because they too have a very, very, very pivotal role in enhancing reading and literacy within and around our communities. So be on the lookout. I would like to hear from you, Rotarian Sandra, in the next 2-3 minutes. What is the plan for reading and writing competitions? Sandra, over to you.
Thank you so much. Good morning, team. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, everyone that has been presenting so far. And we are hoping to roll out the criteria about the guideline of participation into the essay writing competition next week. And we are hoping to work with the BELEP officers for every club so that you reach out to your school or to your schools and share this criteria with them, working closely with the teachers that are in charge of reading, as well as teachers of the English language. So the guidelines will be shared next week, and we are working closely with the school, the Ministry of Education and Sports program for schools. So we know that most schools are closing next month for the second term holiday, at least majority of the schools. So we are hoping to roll this out in this 3rd week of July, and hoping that by the 2nd week of August, we have the submission. So that is a 2 weeks timeline. And as most of the schools will be closing on 19th of August, we are hoping that by then, all schools will have submitted their essays from their pupils and students. That is for primary and secondary schools. For the Rotary clubs that will participate in the essay writing, we are in touch with them, but this is mostly with the schools and the BELEP officers directly. So we are going to also share some background information on top of the criteria in terms of what strategies the schools can use to guide the students. We could look at the field strategy, and by the field strategy here, I mean hello? Frederick, can you hear
Sandra.
me?
Yes, Sandra.
Okay, yeah.
We had lost
you. So we are hoping that the schools can guide the students and pupils about the areas of Rotary, the 7 areas of Rotary, and we are giving them the themes for them to be free to choose. So the BELEP officer will be able to liaise with the school in terms of sharing about Rotary and the 7 areas, and the student or pupil will pick on an area of interest. Yes, on what they would want to share, and whatever theme they pick out of the 7 areas of Rotary as they imagine about Rotary is mainly highlights what is the main points that is relevant that they want to communicate, anything to back up as evidence to that point they want to like bring out, the explanation, and as well the link of the point to the following point, just as an essay, because some of these are already doing this in some subjects like history, but we want to really encourage the pupils and students to really embrace the art of writing, because we know it ends up embracing and adding a lot to their vocabulary. So we're also going to share on the types of essay writing, which we believe probably the schools can do, but we'll just share a brief a brief information to guide. For example, the student or pupil, are they interested in doing a narrative essay or like the type of writing they would want to do? Here, the writer just tells a story about a real life experience. Or are they interested in doing a descriptive essay about their thematic area of choice? Are they describing the points or with pictures or with words? Or are they going to do an expository essay in terms of explaining information using facts with very little opinions? Is it a persuasive essay or is it research? Research, of course, will be high level, but we expect most of them to use narrative and descriptive, but we are available to actually support. And we are also going to have a committee at the end of the process that will validate and evaluate the essays that are submitted. We know that in Uganda, we have different levels of schools, that is from the high end, middle end, probably the low level schools. But we know that when they are marking national exams, there's a certain criteria that Ministry of Education and Sports use. That's why we are going to have that panel that will be inclusive of everybody to make sure that those that are from the high end are also marked accordingly, and then the low schools to really make it a balanced kind of arrangement, just like the buffet of BELEP as it is. So yes, we will roll this out, I think, on Tuesday next week, and hoping to get a lot of input from all the BELEP officers. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Sandra. And colleagues, that is the roadmap of the reading and writing. But the key point is BELEP officers, be on the lookout. There's going to be guidance on the same that will be shared. And we're actually looking at starting in the month of August. This is when we hope to start. So you will get guidance on the same on our platform. I'll take the next 2 minutes to briefly say that we reached out to all Rotarians across the district, imploring Rotarians that are within the education sector to register with us for us to be able to. The goal is really to come up with a fellowship of educationists in Rotary, but not just that, to give support to these very critical areas. So we'll have our maiden meeting before the end of this month. So we'll send out notifications to all of them. If you're here and you didn't register, you're welcome to do so on our platform. And when the time for the meeting comes, we'll call on you and we'll look at that. We come to the BELEP magazine. The BELEP magazine will be launched during the visit of Rotary International President Jennifer Jones. Our appeal to all BELEP officers: we want you to take your very good and the amazing photos that we want to put in the magazine. Take amazing photos, and we'll need your photo, your contact, your club contact by way of telephone, and if possible, email address, so that you are also included in the magazine. Because we want to communicate to the district who are your BELEP officers, so people know. So this is really way of information. We are sharing the roadmap so that we are able to know what is in stock for us. But if you have questions, if you have clarifications you desire to have in any of these areas, reach out to us, and we'll be able to really guide. But you'll get a lot of flowing information from today about these submissions that we have made. Rotary International President Jennifer Jones implored us to ensure there is diversity, equity, and inclusion in all our interventions that we are going to do. And at BELEP, we are doing just that. We are ensuring that there is diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is why I want to invite Rotarian Miriam, who is in charge of inclusion at the BELEP District Committee, to really give us a bird's view of what is it that we are really planning to do to ensure that there is total inclusion in all that we do. Rotarian Miriam, you have 3 minutes. Let me see. Miriam, are you there?
Good morning.
Awesome.
Good morning.
Good morning. Go for it.
Chair Fred, good morning, everyone. Sorry, I'm on the road. I'll be brief, but thanks for the opportunity. This is to do with inclusion, and in particular, special needs children. To begin with, some of us may not know who the special needs children are or what special needs is all about. This is a disability, which is a condition or function judged to be significantly impaired relative to usual standards of an individual or group. Now, any human being that has an impairment is a disabled person. Now, what are the categories we have in our communities? We have a physical impairment, that is mobility. For example, those who are seated in wheelchairs. We also have sensory impairments, those who cannot see, listen, who cannot see, talk, or listen. We have intellectual impairment. Many of us know that currently, due to COVID, many of our people have become, what can I say? They are challenged in terms of their intellectual capability of thinking and being in society. Some is because of drugs. For example, children have been exposed to drugs and now they cannot think clearly. Others are mad. We also have mental illnesses, for example, and also various chronic diseases. They are diseases of the brain and the nervous system. I'll give an example, like children who are suffering from Down syndrome, children who are suffering from autism, children who are suffering from cerebral palsy, to mention but a few. Now, how does BELEP include such special needs cases? There are various ways, and I'm calling upon all BELEP officers and clubs that are passionate about special needs children to join hands. Since they are special, it is quite an expensive venture, and do the 7x7 award challenge. How can this be done? I'll give an example: basic education and literacy. Many of these children have been rejected in schools. They've been abandoned by parents because they are very expensive to maintain. So can you educate a special needs child or children? Another way you can do this is by donating books. Some read like the deaf, or only that the way they read is in a very specialized way. So can you donate books to them? Can you read with them? You must know sign language. If you're going to read with, for example, the deaf, can you bring along a trained teacher who knows sign language? And I'm just mentioning ways you can get involved as BELEP officers. We have environment. When you go to meet these children in their centers, most of them are in specialized centers or homes. It's rare that you find many of them in the mainstream because we've not adapted them within these schools. Can you plant trees? Can you plant fruits? Can you plant vegetables with them? I'll give an example. Most of these children are not in the mainstream, so they are taught life skills. Can they dig? Can they eat food using their hands or legs, etc.? So instead of them being absorbed, which they cannot, a majority of them, you rather teach them how to plant a seedling, okay? So those are some of the ways you can get involved with the 7x7 award. I'll give another example: training. We are talking about training teachers and parents. This is very much needed. Reason being, the kind of training we give to the special needs is what we call life skills. So teachers have to be trained to teach these children how to eat, how to bathe, how to adapt or get absorbed in society. And another way is, for example, the parents. Many of them don't know how to handle these children. For example, autism. Most of them are a bit violent. So you find a parent locking up this child in a room for days without care. Yet if you train them how to handle these children, they'll have a better way of living. Another way we can plug into the 7x7 award is through peace and conflict resolution. There's a lot of stigma. There's a lot of rejection. Parents need lawyers. You know, some schools have rejected these children. and yet this is their right to education. Some of them need counseling. How do you come in to bring on board counselors, to bring on board lawyers, to be able to advocate for the rights of these children? We need a lot of awareness. Most of these children, if they're abandoned, they are got in from shrines, okay, left to die because parents are maybe ashamed, others want riches. So you find that these children are also dying, especially in our rural communities. So you find that the police authority pick them up from shrines and take them to specialized homes. I know this is a very touching situation, but this is what we are living with. You find that other parents have been stigmatized. So you find that they keep their children in homes and they don't want anyone to know about them. And yet these children are very special. So under peace and conflict resolution, we can have lawyers come up and advocate, create awareness, counseling, counsel parents to appreciate these children. And many other areas. I'll just mention those few because they are pressing. I'll give an example of water and sanitation. Imagine a child who is impaired in terms of the physical capabilities. They cannot move well, or they use their limbs to move. And they're in the mainstream. They have to go to the latrine. There are over 500 to 1,000 pupils in these schools. Now, imagine if that was your child using the same facilities like any normal child. Do you think they would want to go to school? No, they would go with a lot of difficulty because not taken care of in a special way. So as BELEP officers and notarians, can we plug into water and sanitation? Can we advocate or build specialized latrines to accommodate kids with special needs with physical impairment? So basically, just to enlighten you on where we are going in terms of inclusion, there's quite a lot you can do for these children. They are special, they are lovable, they are unique. They just need to be cared for in a special way. With that, Chair, that's all I could say. Sorry, I'm on the road. I'm not very settled, but I can take on questions. Thank you very much.
No, it is well. What I will request you to do, Miriam, is if you could please share your contacts, email address, both on the chat section on this meeting, but most importantly, on our BELEP officers team, because I'm sure, colleagues, as you engage with these schools, you will really interface with children that have special needs. Don't shun them. Don't say these ones, we didn't come here for this. No, embrace them and reach out on how we can help the children, but also support you on ensuring that they are also included, because their lives really, really, really matter as well. So we have a team, and you've rightly heard, capable enough to support in this. Miriam, please share your contacts in the chat section here and on the BELEP officers platform. I want to give 2 minutes to you, Rotarian Martin Namutso. You have sent us tools to fill in, and you will send us more tools actually in the coming days. What is your expectation of us? What is your challenge? Where do you want us to polish up? What is your expectation of us? Rotarian Martin, 2 minutes. Martin Friends is our head of M&E at the BELEP district team, and he's doing a tremendous job. Thank you, Martin. I welcome you to kindly guide us. 2 minutes, please. You still with us? Martin, are you with us?
Yes, Chair. Sorry, my network just died immediately when I was supposed to begin speaking.
Okay,
am I ready to go?
Just go for it.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, all, and good morning, all members. I think mine is really, I'll give you back some more minutes, Chair. But one of the key things that we probably just I wanted to address today is accuracy in filling and submitting of our data collection tools. Like we have noticed, we are using what we call a Google form, says budget, to submit any data collected by the club. Now, for accuracy, one of the things we're now going to do keenly, I've even realized that some people are not able to, we're getting some errors in how we are writing our Rotary Club names. So what I will do is we're going to endeavor that for some of the things that are already pre-known, they should appear in a drop-down list for you to pick. So you should be able to just select what your Rotary Club is. Then for most of the tools like you've seen, at least for what we have seen for today, for example, the content tool, you notice that we have already known options for you to choose. Is it strongly, do you strongly agree? Do you disagree? And so on. So those will be options for you to be able to choose. So that's what we really call options. You know, we're going to go for kind of an option set for you to be able to pick out, and limit on too much of giving people leeway for them to type in things, because you know, someone will type, I agree strongly, someone will say, I strongly agree. And when we're doing the analysis, it becomes a little bit of a challenge. So we'll try to limit on qualitative data collection and go a little bit for more of the quantitative also, so that we are able to give you this. But also in terms of maybe if time allows, I've realized that sometimes, you know, using some of these tools becomes a little bit disturbing. So Chair, maybe in some of the presentations as we go by, we can always put in some room for just showing the officers how to access the tool, and when you have accessed it, what you need to do. It could be just a 5 minutes, you know, presentation of when we have set up the tool finally. We can go through it and show them this is what we select.
Do is, I think my microphone is still on.
Sorry, okay. So I was just saying that we probably might make a session later, Chair, time allowing, during one of the presentations when we're talking to the BELEP officers, to show them, to present the tool itself. This is the tool, this is how you access it. When it loads, this is what you're required to do, and to just clear out some discrepancies in terms of how to be able to accurately fill the tool and go about it. So yes, Chair, that's all from me. I don't know if there are any other thing anyone wants me to say about. Thanks.
Awesome. Key to note here is that BELEP officers, and maybe who are the most people that will be responding to these questionnaires or these tools, these tools are going to be uploaded in our dashboard, and we'll invite you to journey you through these tools so that you interface with the tool before you administer the tool. So you get to see the tool, how it looks like, interface, interact with it, ask questions, understand it well, and make sure that you go ahead to really limit your responses to the questions in the tool and as accurate as you can. So the key take home here is be on the lookout when we invite you for a training to run you through the assessment tools. Our humble plea is that please plug in so that you get to interact with the questionnaire prior. Now, I really don't want to take this beyond 9 by all means. And I know I have only 2 things to do. Number one, we have 5 regions that are represented, but I want to request 1 representative. And I'll request you, Peter Damzung, to really share in the support, commit let the colleagues know how do they reach out to their regional coordinators in the north, in the west. How do they reach out, and what should they expect of you? In strictly 2 minutes, Peter Damzung, if you're there, I want you to weigh in.
Thank you so much, Chair. Good morning, team. Thank you so much for all the presentations so far. From the regional team, I want to to request that we've tried to do our best as usual. We've almost reached out to all the BELEP, club BELEP officers, and we've also reached out to the amazing presidents. We want to pledge and continue support in that direction. Key things, I think, that we've been coming to you to try and sort out very fast is to ensure that all clubs give us their BELEP officers, and that we add them to our platform to ensure that we are communicating and they are receiving all the communications in time. Then secondly, is to ensure that all clubs have selected schools to partner with. This was very exhibited during the celebrations of the D.E.A.R Day and also the participation in the BELEP launch. So to sum up, I want to pledge total support as regional representatives. Kindly reach out to us anytime. As you've always been doing, a number of you come to our inboxes, and I think we are addressing the issues as and when they are required. And in a number of times again, we seek guidance from the other team members on possible questions that you ask, and we feel we don't have the capability to do that. So let's continue engaging in that way. Let's continue supporting each other. We are open, use us, our mobile numbers are free, and let's continue dialoguing for any support. Thank you, Chair.
Very much. Thank you very much, Peter Damuzungu. The take home here is really, we want to localize, because we have different issues and different challenges. We want to localize the support. That is the goal. So make sure that you are on your regional WhatsApp group, the BELEP officers, because while we are happy to support you at the district, but it even becomes more relevant when you are part of the local group. So see to it that you're on the BELEP WhatsApp group of your region. BELEP officers, make sure you know clubs, you know the clubs that are within your region. So reach out to these clubs. I like what the Northern Corridor have done already. They are doing well. So the rest of us can really copy and move on with that. I want to share one thing before I can invite the district governor to close this session. Number one, we have a BELEP district grant. I have moved to clubs talking about this. This is a district grant. We chose to go the district way because it sells better. We have total support from the entire district grant team. Unfortunately, Nelson is not with us. He's up country with no good connection. But so it means that we are working with the district to put together this global grant, and they are very, very, very helpful. So we didn't want to go the club way because we have to involve many clubs, and again, we have to go to the district for support. So we have full support of the district in all we are doing in this global grant. Now, the gist of the matter is here. If you check on your screen, this is where the gist of the matter. How will clubs contribute? There are two options. You can choose to go either way. The first option is you can collect funds from your members. First and foremost, this actually attracts recognitions because we shall send the money first to the Rotary Foundation to get the recognitions. So if a member makes contribution of their $1,000 and they want to be PHFs, definitely they will get their PHF, and it is possible to tag this money to the global grant, but also get recognition as a PHF. So once you've collected the funds from the members, there are two things you could do. One, you could choose to, for simplicity, you could choose to send the funds to the Rotary office. Beatrice will receive it, but make sure you clearly indicate the amounts contributed by the respective members from your club. Now, when the time is ripe, so friends, do not rush to send this money before we give you a go-ahead. You can collect this money, but we'll tell you when to remit this money, because there is a procedure. I wish Nelson was here to undertake before it is remitted. if we are going to benefit from it. But the global grant number is there. It is very important that you take your photo of that global grant number. So, and then once you've sent the money to Beatrice, when the time is right, she will consolidate the money from all clubs and all contributions and remit it at once. And then she will fill in the donor form, tagging the grant to tagging the funds to the grant. There are many options really for TRF, but here we'll go with option 4, where we tag the funds to the grant. I'm not going to do the other details. These ones we can discuss later. The second option, some people choose to submit their own monies. That is still fine. You can collect your money, and then but before you remit on your own, let us know so that we can guide you on what exactly to do. So once you have really remitted the money, as the normal way you know how to do, after 2-3 days, you get the remittance advice from the bank. Fill in the multi-donor form. This multi-donor form will actually generate it and share it on our platform. This is really, again, where among other options, you have to specify where the options are 4. There's Polio Plus, annual fund, and permanent fund. And the other fund is the grant. When it is a grant, you have to specify that number. That is the global grant number that we shall be using. So I really wanted to make mention precisely of this. So I want to right now thank you and invite the district governor to kindly close this session for us. DG, over to you. I don't know whether governor is still with us. Maybe we lost. Yes, DG, over to you.
Am I being heard?
You are now very audible. Go right ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. Frederick, our team leader, whose name has now become Mr. Belep. When I'm addressing him, it's like Frederick Belep Kitakule. You are now synonymous with the brand of Belep, and I would like to really appreciate you. My message as we close this meeting that has been extremely beneficial, it's been informative, it's been educative, it's been empowering, it's been encouraging, it's even has generated more vibe and drive for Belep. I want to thank the convener. I want to thank the team leaders who have made presentations, the time they put in to generate such well-documented presentations, and the mode of delivery that has been very impactful to each and every one of us. This has been a learning process. I've learned a lot, and I guess each and every one of you is going off this call a better leader and better informed person regarding this signature project. This project is informed by the mantra of the Rotary International President of Imagine Rotary. And for us in District 913, we imagine Rotary where reading, writing, and comprehension is a way of life, among other indicators on the educational divide. We want to give what is most valued asset of ourselves to the next generation and posterity. And what we value most, each and every one of us, is education. I am because of education, just like you are because of education. The doctor in you, the lawyer in you, the engineer in you, the journalist in you, the accountant in you could never have been if you are not handled well at the basic education and literacy level. You get it wrong at the basics, you simply cannot get it right at the complicated level. So that's why we are putting emphasis there. You know of this lady who was made to sign some document and she got dispossessed, yet she didn't benefit anything. The people who did it were 2 billion richer. That is the cost of illiteracy. It can be as much as 2 billion. That is a lifetime, but that is what we want to avoid. So I want to thank each and every one of you who have responded to this call for us to fight illiteracy through the BELEP intervention and initiative. And you know, this cannot be done at the district. Results are always reflected on the ground, and the only channel through which we make impactful and life-changing interventions are the clubs. So allow me to thank the presidents and the BELEP officers at the club for the good work you've done, beginning 1st July and ongoing, work in progress. Let's take up the different interventions that have been shared with us by the team. BELEP is a buffet. Pick what your stomach can manage, what your appetite can accommodate, what your desire is, what you've wished for a long time. You pick it, do it well, and you register your impact in the BELEP profile. We will have a BELEP wall of fame, and all the clubs participating and all the outstanding individuals participating will be part of that wall of fame. Being part of this meeting is the beginning of a journey for you to get your place and occupy your space at the BELEP wall of fame. I want to close by saying that BELEP is informed by diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is the only intervention or area of focus that is cross-cutting in terms of those variables, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because with education, if you go to any school, you'll definitely see diversity. Diversity in tribe, diversity in race, diversity in religion, diversity in socio-economic background. So education is a tool of diversity, and it champions it, and it makes us appreciate diversity. Education is an enabler, education is an equalizer. So if you're talking about equity, the tool that can effectively and efficiently deliver that is education. And at the basic level, that is the beginning of the journey. A son of a rich man, a son of a peasant, you get to enjoy the same platform because of the space offered by education, and at basic education level at that. When you talk about inclusion, all we are doing is inclusive. Education allows inclusivity. So as the BELEP, and as we implement this project using the buffet model, where clubs pick what they want and what they desire, where they have core competence, we want to benchmark it on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Diversity, we can operate in different areas, appreciate the different diversity as we reach out to offer solutions to the problems in the schools. So let diversity be part. Equity is definitely very much guaranteed because we want all the schools that we work with to benefit. That's why we've highlighted the areas so that in terms of implementation, there is some uniformity and the benefits are also more aligned. And when you talk about inclusivity, let's include every school that we can afford to include. Let's reach out as many as we can. A club can manage as many as 50 schools if they have the capacity and working with partners. So let's be inclusive. The high-end schools can be there, the middle-end schools, and even the low-end schools. So let's be inclusive. Let's try to strive for equity as we implement this program. And let's also appreciate diversity and work with it and appreciate it as a source of capacity. So Mr. Moderator and our convener, I really want to close by thanking you as a team leader, thanking your subject matter team leaders, thank the regional team leaders, thank the presidents who are the team leaders at the club level, together with their officers who are the points persons. Let's think BELEP, let's speak BELEP, let's act BELEP, and let's imagine a world, let's imagine Uganda, let's imagine District 9213 that is transformed, where we transform the young generation into a better generation using BELEP as an entry point and as an amazing project. You are such an amazing team. Through BELEP, you are doing amazing things. The way you are doing it is definitely amazing, and the results that are going to be generated, or the ones that have even been generated before, are amazing, because day one, the entire district was awash with BELEP, with so many clubs in action, working with so many schools, reaching out to so many learners, and donating so many readers. You wonderful team. I celebrate you. Let's work to ensure that as a district, we just don't survive, but we thrive through the impact we make in our communities. I wish you an eventful and productive weekend. I pray for good health and long life, long enough for us to see the fruits of our investment in terms of brains, in terms of energy, in terms of all consideration. So thank you, and thank you. Back to you, moderator.
Awesome. Thank you very much, amazing DG. And I want to again add my voice to the DG's message of appreciation to each and every single one of you that has been able to plug into our engagement this morning. I pray that we'll be able to carry forward this wonderful message to, first and foremost, the colleagues that ought to have been with us, but for one reason or the other, they were not able. So please, we can convey this message to them, but also relay these messages to our clubs. Again, in a very, very special way, I want to thank the BELEP team leaders. My role is really the simplest. Their role is the hardest. My role is to really coordinate, and you can, as you have definitely witnessed, they are the guys in the kitchen. I want to thank you very much, all the team leaders in your respective capacities, those in charge of reading, the teachers, the learners, the M&E colleagues. Thank you very, very much. And to you, the amazing BELEP officers, you are our champions of action in your respective clubs. Let us not relent, as DG has said, we shall together reach where we desire to reach in this amazing year. So it's the end of our interaction this morning. I want to say a goodbye from the BELEP.
Before you close, will we have a recording of the same so that the members can share with their team members that were not able to make it?
Yes, of course, 100%. We will share the recording on all our platforms for the benefit of those that have not been able to really plug in, because this is very helpful and informative information that we wouldn't want anybody to miss out on. So we'll share the recording certainly. Okay, thank you, colleagues. Goodbye, and may God really bless you and make you a blessing.